Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and good evening. Today we are going to discuss about the Middle East, the Palestine issue, in fact, focusing on the Gaza situation. Today we have seen that in the United Nations Security Council, a resolution was being presented by the United States of America, and the Pakistan was one of those countries which has supported this resolution on the plea that Pakistan wants peace in Gaza, and Pakistan wants that this war should end, and the people of Palestine should be given a relief both from the bombardment as well as the humanitarian crisis that the people are suffering for a long time, and especially in this the winter which has started. The news which are coming are really very pathetic, and the international community and the United Nations, as well as the Americans, have to, act quickly so that the humanitarian assistance which was being committed at Sharm el Sheikh during the peace agreement, that should reach to the people immediately. So I have a very prominent journalist with me, Mr. Farukh Patafi. He is associated with the Pakistan Television English channel, and he also contributes to various print media um, newspapers on the national as well as international issues. Thank you very much, Mr. Patafi, for joining me here. Please tell me what is the significance of the UN resolution that was being passed today?
Thank you very much, Waheed Saab, for the invite and the question. Before I start on that, let me actually just clarify one injustice that you did. You introduced me as a senior journalist, but not as your friend. Our friendship goes 25 years back, and I'm really proud of that.
I apologize on screen. I apologize for that. I'm
Yeah,
really sorry for that.
I just wanted to clarify that it is a great friendship, and thank you very much for
Thank
that as well. Now, the UNSC resolution and this moment is very important, Vaitsab, because this entire genocide that was going on in Gaza has been going on for past 2 years, and nobody was able to stop it. We saw that Biden administration repeatedly tried to sanction or withhold weapon supply to Israel, but Benjamin Netanyahu was not listening to anybody. So along comes Donald Trump. President Trump has shown that at least he can, if nobody else can, control Benjamin Netanyahu, because Benjamin Netanyahu, he is facing, 3 cases of corruption in courts, and simultaneously he has also assembled a far right extremist government. Because of that, he is riding a tiger. He did not want this war to end, and now because President Trump came up with his proposal, which was 20-point proposal and which has been vetted by the UNSC now as well. It is a significant moment because while we can keep on reiterating the same kind of values or hollow slogans that we have been repeatedly chanting for past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but if you want to see that the bloodshed ends and that Palestinians get their lives back and right to life and dignity of life back, then there has to be a solution. And here, UNSC seems to have actually approved a plan which seems to work. Remember that in the past, whenever there was some kind of intervention by the UNSC, it was the US which would actually veto that move. This time we have seen that it is the US which has tabled this notion, and of course, other veto powers have. There are two countries which have actually abstained, but they haven't vetoed. So there is hope that there is going to be a solution, and it is a very opportune time. It is a good time that finally we might see some kind of semblance of peace returning to Gaza. Yes, wait, sir.
But the irony of the situation is that on the one side, the international community, the powerful Muslim countries were present at Sharm el Sheikh when this agreement was being signed. But after a couple of days, the Israelis once again started bombing the Palestinians, especially those who are staying in the refugee camps, or on the roads. Say they are continuously being killed. So, do you think that there is a significance of resolutions or the agreements when the Israeli government does not respect anything?
Right. And I think that your question is very pertinent because in our neck of the woods, this is something that is repeatedly discussed, especially because this issue, like any other, is linked with our sentimentality also. But here's a fact. While it is true that even now Israel keeps on carrying out these higgledy-piggledy attacks, but the fact is that there is a substantial uh, or significant change in the quantum of violence that we were witnessing. Earlier, Israeli forces, IDF as they are called, were actually going everywhere and killing everybody whosoever came in their way. That is not so now. There is a focus of world on what is happening in Gaza, and that's why while Benjamin Netanyahu will keep on trying to deflect attention from peace so that he can actually start another war. He wanted to go for a forever war, but he has been restrained. That is one aspect. Now, what you said about very powerful Muslim countries, we have to decide what kind of world we are in. If we want to be part of any ideologically driven make believe world, then we can do that. But otherwise, all these countries that are there, whether they are Muslim, whether they are not Muslims, they are nation states. Nation states have their own interest, and all of them at least prevail so much that there is a talk for peace, and with that there is an agreement. It might not be the best solution in the world, but it is the one that seems to be working. And in the end, if you are going to ensure that Benjamin Netanyahu stops, and then there is reconstruction of Gaza, then this is the only Hail Mary you have got. So at this moment, we can keep on naming people, but the fact is that there was significant show of moral courage, not only by Muslim countries, but also from countries like France. For France, France's president is going through hell because Benjamin Netanyahu has this connection with far right elements in Europe as well, and he is using them to, destabilize President Macron. But President Macron and Saudi Arabia came together to ensure that so many countries, for three-fourths of the UN's membership, actually acknowledges, recognizes a Palestinian state. So there is moral courage that is there. Unfortunately, we understand that if there's a bad actor, and to me, I can be wrong, you can disagree with me, but to me, there are two bad actors. One is Benjamin Netanyahu and their apartheid government. On the other side, Hamas also is not a great actor. I tell you why. If we thought that they are a democratic force, they are not. The last election that took place in Gaza was 19 years ago, 2006 actually. And at that time also, the result was in the air, and finally, in the presence of IDF, Hamas attacked PLO's offices and took control. So it is not a mandate as much as violence that prevailed there. So today, if these both these elements can be restrained or restrained, eventually it is good. It is in the interest that peace breaks down, but it is our responsibility to ensure that peace prevails and Gazans get the dignity of life that they deserve back. Wait up.
Well. Uh, in this resolution, there's a talk. Even previously when this agreement was signed, there is a one section or a one article related to international stabilizing force.
Mhm.
Uh, but the Hamas today, after this resolution, and some of the people who were being interviewed by the media, uh, they didn't agree with this idea of bringing any international stabilizing force into Palestine. So,
Yeah.
how you see the future of such an idea? Because they do agree that there could be a acceptance of the UN for kind of a peacekeeping forces, but not the international stabilizing force, which is going to, according to Hamas or the Palestinian, it is going to help the Israelis more than the Palestinian people.
Right. Regarding this Hamas's statement, I have seen this statement also. In fact, they said that ISF or whatever force that might be there, its main job is not policing people, right? It has to be the at the borders. So there is going to be a concern regarding the use of ISF. But if there is going to be an ISF, that is International Stabilization Force, then what is it going to be under? Is it going to be under Israeli forces? Is it going to be under the American leadership? Or is it going to be under what you call UN? Right? Today's resolution proves that it is going to be essentially the UN's cover, which is going to ensure, of course, America is going to be a serious party. Because of that, Benjamin Netanyahu is on retreat. Otherwise, trust me, if he had his way, he would have, by now, he would have expanded the war to Iran, which he tried to do, but he was to, pressed back, pushed back. And perhaps he would have expanded the war to all Muslim countries, including Pakistan. So, right now, it is also a serious concern
But
regarding
do
law
you, sorry
enforcement.
to interrupt you, but do you think that
Yeah.
the Israelis do have a capability and capacity to bring the war to to entire Middle East as well as to Pakistan?
Right. Regarding Pakistan, I think we have shown Israel is as big as my toes nail. It isn't that big. We have actually taken care of India before everybody. So I don't want to tempt fate, but I think that Pakistan would have given them befitting answer if they tried anything of the sort. But the problem is that when somebody starts a war, they inhale their own propaganda. They had come to Iran, remember. They actually neutralized Iran's air defenses because Iran has not been investing in that. Pakistan proved that Pakistan was smart and it has invested in air defense, its air force, and all that, right? But the problem is that if he had his way, I'm talking about Netanyahu, he would have expanded the war to wherever possible, because if he stops and if the war stops, he can very easily face the music in a court of law. And this is the old, wag the dog model, that whenever you are found corrupt or found in corruption, you can always wage a war and never stop. But regarding what I was saying at this moment, Hamas can say whatever they want to, but in the end, ISF's work will be to guard the borders, ensure that there's stability, and then they fill in the gap of left behind by withdrawal of IDF. While that happens, then the new administration, which is going to be the caretaker setup of technocrats, is supposed to develop their police, and that police is going to take care of law enforcement issues. I think Hamas will, in the end, have to agree, because so far, what has happened is, since Benjamin Netanyahu has come back to power, many years ago, since then, Hamas and they both have been actually working in a kind of sync, because we saw those reports that Israel had paid their leadership through Qatar in the past. It was reported openly in the media, right? So, my concern is, if they are bad actors, they should lose power, and there should be some reconstruction effort by the world. At this moment, I don't envy Palestinians because the entire place has become a rubble, a mound of rubble. These people deserve their rights. They need water, they need medicine, they need food. And finally, the UN also and the US are working in tandem rather than at cross purposes to find a solution that is lasting and those people get their rights.
Do you do you
Yes.
see do you see do you see the sincerity at the part of the United States of America, or it is only to since Trump is, uh, he always say that I have struck so many peace agreements around the world, 7, 8, including India, Pakistan. Of course, the Americans mediated and they played a very vital role in May this year. So, do you think that Americans are really serious to bring a peace in Middle East and create a independent Palestinian state for the Palestinian people?
Ask yourself, why would there not be? Remember that there is a beautiful book written by Professor Amir Scheimer, and it is about the so called Israeli lobby. But you have enough exposure, waits up, and I also in the US system. So if you interact with them, if you go there, you realize one thing very quickly. While the lobby is very strong, nobody in power in particular actually likes Israel. Why would that be? Because Israelis are exactly the same kind of bullies that we have seen in India also. Nobody likes a bully. Anybody who does not want to play ball, who wants to actually use your words against you, who wants to inculpate you all the time, people don't want to actually tolerate them. But the problem is Israel has built this lobby, which is incredible. Do read that book because it gives you granular details. There are actually two authors, but Mayor Scheimer's name was coming to my mind, so I thought that I'm going to mention that. Because of that lobby, all these people feel that they have to keep on working with Israel. But the fact is, if today the war continues and if Palestine really keeps on suffering, in the end, will it even help is America's or Israel's moral position in the long run? It won't, because it is patent genocide happening in the age of social media. So, in the end, I think everybody wants a Palestinian state to start. Of course, Israel will have to defer its plans or techniques to keep on, picking up West Bank bit by bit for at least 1 or 2 decades. But for now, the real possibility, because remember that it is Donald Trump's plan, but within that plan, there's mention of France, Saudi Arabia, a proposal which actually speaks of the gradual transfer of power to an authority which is Palestinian government and which is a democratically elected government. So we can hope that in coming days that happens. This man, Donald Trump, whether you like it or not, whether people like it or not, while there are many scandals and people to keep on talking about it, but there's a spark, well hidden spark of decency, which keeps on impacting everybody. Because India, Pakistan, you have seen his position. Nagorno-Karabakh, especially when it came to Azerbaijan, very close friends of ours, and Armenia, there too he has played a role. So I think that in coming days there is going to be this solid plan which delivers, and people start seeing the kind of results that are hoped for. Yes, Faisal.
The MBS is in Washington meeting the president. And since he's not the head of the state, but naturally he's running the show in Saudi Arabia, he is the actual, the authority of the king is being used by his son, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. So how you see, because there are news that the Americans are going to sell or give almost 40 to 50, F-35
After
aircraft fighters to Saudi Arabia. Then there are other agreements regarding the AI and maybe some other. So how you see that vis-a-vis this resolution, which was passed by the Americans in UNSC with the help of other countries, including Pakistan. So the timing of the two, how you see that?
Right. I think that many things happen simultaneously, and two things can be true independent of each other, right? I think that the biggest reason why the US is so willing to invest in the Saudi defenses, and it has actually given a guarantee to Qatar, is because once again, that Israel had gone bonkers and it's even attacked one GCC country, that is Qatar, right? After that, you saw the kind of dynamics which changed. But frankly, you said that he is not head of state. Of course, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is the Crown Prince, but he is also the head of government because he is the Prime Minister of the country. So I think that his going to the US makes sense. And then, of course, the US wants to ensure that all these countries who have invested so hugely in the US, remember that most of these countries independently seem to have invested around $1 trillion in the US or US economics. So, with that, they want to ensure that those friendships last. Of course, when Qatar attack took place at that time, the first thing that we saw was the materialization of Pakistan's Saudi defense agreement, right? And that people keep on thinking, especially because we have Indian detractors who want to scandalize everything. They want to show you that perhaps they are competing values. But I think that US and Pakistan are working in tandem when it comes to safety of these countries, and that is not all. When I was recently, a couple of months ago, I was in Shanghai, so I was interacting there also, and I thought that the Chinese friends also want Pakistan to play a constructive role, not only in South Asia, but also in West Asia, in the Arab countries as well. Yes.
Okay. Uh, Finally, please tell me. Recently, the Jordanian king was here, and he also witnessed, the military exercises. He was being awarded the highest award in Pakistan as well.
Yeah.
So, how you see the Pakistani, closeness to Egypt, to Jordan, in the Middle East, other than the Saudi Arabia?
Right. One thing that is becoming very clear is that U.S. does not seem to have that much control overall, especially right now. President Trump is there, but eventually, whenever the government changes, in after every 4 years, there is an election, and even if he runs for third term, which is speculated at this moment, but he has not
But the
indicated whether he
American
will.
American Constitution doesn't allow third terms, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, but that you must also know that amendment was also introduced during FDR's time. Before that, people could run. FDR actually ran for 4 times, and fourth time they wanted to ensure that he does not run beyond that 4 terms, right? So they actually brought in this law. So laws keep on changing. I'm not saying that he's going to run, but what I'm saying is that at this moment he is there, and Israel seems to start kind of sort of behaving. But it is right now it is bonkers. It is totally out of control of any reason or rationality. So all these countries, after Qatar was attacked, and the way Israel went after various countries, I think all of these nations have understood that Pakistan and Saudi, they have to be playing a role. So Jordan's King Abdullah coming to Pakistan, it was great news. By the way, you must have listened to his UNGA speech. It was one of the finest moral speeches that I that really impressed me, and I made it a point of highlighting it at that time also. So his coming to Pakistan is most welcome. I think that he's a friend of Pakistan. Pakistan and Egypt should also be building bridges and working in tandem. So I think that now, thanks to one country called India, whatever they did in May,
Yeah.
Pakistan's genie is out of bottle and it is everywhere. Yeah.
Finally, please tell me that how we can, since Pakistan diplomatically they have achieved a lot after May, as you have been mentioning right now, and the Pakistani Prime Minister and the Field Marshal has been visiting not only the Middle East but you know uh, our friend China, Saudi Arabia, and Middle East, as well as European countries together. So, and of course, the Central Asian states, how we can get benefit uh, from these diplomatic efforts towards our economy, stabilizing our economy, bringing investment into Pakistan, so that Pakistani economy should also start flourishing, and we should get rid of this the international monetary funds or other international financial institutions, and have a standing on our own feet from financially and economic point of view.
Right. And that is very important, Bahit Saab, because an army marches on its stomach, as Napoleon said. I think it is very important for Pakistan to ensure. Usually, Pakistan's diplomacy and defense policy have been very robust. But when it comes to Pakistan's economy, we have been struggling. One good thing is that not only this, by the way, Field Marshal and this Prime Minister, I know that it has become countercultural to praise these people because everybody immediately thinks that you are, you are some kind of sycophant or you are trying to flatter them. But the truth is that these two people have actually proven that they understand what it takes to transform the country. First of all, this prime minister, when he came to power, you remember that how much in pain the country was, especially everybody was saying that this country is going to be bankrupt. And at that time, we had this tiff with IMF because IMF seemed to demand too much. And our EFF, Extended Fund Facility, was about to collapse. On the last day, he went to IMF and convinced them for a standby agreement, right? Arrangement. And because of that standby arrangement, we survived, and now we are very progressively part of another EFF, which is constructive and which is helping. So IMF is the doctor of last resort. You have gone to that, go through the system. That is one principle. The second one is thanks to the Prime Minister and Field Marshal, both are great, and there you will. I hope that time actually proves this. They are the best thing that happened to this country recently. Their military diplomacy and their diplomacy can eventually then bring FDI in the country. And by the way, one very important engine of growth, and so far we haven't discussed it. I hope that we do not lose sight of the AI moment, because at this moment, the entire world's economy is being renegotiated by AI. If we capitalize on that, and if there's enough compute and FDI in the country can, of course, really progress. Then you can have these trade routes as well, and then you will not have the fear that whichever trade agreement you actually sign, it ends up, becoming an anti-dumping concern because we don't produce that much. Other countries keep on sending their produce. That becomes a problem. So first of all, correcting the economy is macroeconomics is important. Second, FDI, and then third, investing in technology. And with that, you can start trading off with the entire world. Wait, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Farukh Patafi, senior journalist and a friend of mine, for joining me in this show. I'm sure that your valuable input regarding Middle East and Pakistan's relations with the rest of the world, especially efforts regarding the FDI, foreign direct investment, that Pakistan should be working on it. It is working, and we need to expedite these efforts so that we should be financially independent as well. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you.